Aaron Rodgers, he's talking to me. I'm saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. I'm in there like a kid. I'm just practicing against the first team defense. So I was a tight end. So that's when I really learned position, playing against Clay Matthews, going against Julius Peppers, going against Nick Perry, just going against those guys. I really had to learn my technique. Every week was a grind for me. I didn't have time to be laughing and bullshit. So if you had a bad week, you thinking like, man, like, am I going to get cut this week? Am I going to make it next week? So you're thinking about all the mistakes you did, death threats, the racist comments. So all that started happening as soon as I got back to my phone.
The same game, as soon as you are.
Same game, as soon as, because, social media, people can comment, people are watching.
You microdose? Do you ever have any conflictions with religion and morality with the use of psychedelics?
That's a good question. I never thought about it from a religious point of view.
Which one felt better, your first ever touchdown in the NFL or touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers?
I don't think Aaron was throwing me the ball. 3-yard line, there's a dude there. I'm like, you're not. There's no way you're going to stop me from scoring, bro.
Today I have with me 5-year NFL tight end, inducted into the Newberry College Hall of Fame, also got all conference honors while there. Now is the owner and operator of Sage Elite Healing Clinic, focusing on mental health.
Yeah.
Brandon Bostick, thank you so much for making the time, man.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, anytime. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because the people that I like talking to are ones who have been through adversity, people who have built something from the ground up with their own hands, and so I can learn from them, and so the audience can learn from them. When I heard your story, how when you got into the NFL, a few years later you started getting death threats, which we'll get into very shortly, I knew that you were someone I wanted to talk to because that's someone with adversity that they face, and then you obviously are dealing with that now, and you're going to be building strong from that. I see from your social media how you're handling it. So, but first let's start from the very beginning so the audience can know where you came from, how you ended up where you are now, and then where you're going to be heading, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So at what age did you have the conversation with yourself where you said, I want to make it into the NFL? Was it a dream you always had since you were a kid, or was it something you decided to older?
I had that dream as a kid growing up, just playing. I started playing football at a very young age. I think I was like 6. A couple months ago, I texted my mom. I was like, Mom, what age I started playing football? Because I don't remember, obviously, age 6. I'm 33 now, so she's like, you started playing around 6. So I'm like, I started that dream. I always wanted to go to the NFL. And that's every kid's dream when you're playing, you want to go to the NFL. So that was my dream growing up. I didn't really think it could happen until like my junior year of college. And dudes were I was big and I was starting to play good, and dudes were like, yo, you can make it to the NFL. But I went to Newberry College, and there's only one other person that went to the NFL before me, Ron Parker. So that wasn't really a thing. I'm like, okay, like y'all joking around. So then I started to really take it serious and really started to put my time and my grind to it, my junior year of college. So as a kid, I had that dream, but I didn't really start to believe it till my junior year of college.
So what was the goal of college then? Would you get on scholarship when you were a freshman and sophomore?
It's funny you said that because I was just telling someone this story. When my senior year, I was good. I had a great high school career, and college started looking at me like big time schools, Division I schools, but I didn't have the grades, so I couldn't go to those big schools because of my academics. I had like a 1.8 GPA. Okay. I think so. They're like, nah, like you got to go to a school to get your grades right before we can give you a scholarship. So I tried to get in these schools and I just didn't work. I tried to go to South Carolina State. It's like, no, we don't want you. So I had to go to Newberry College. In order to get in there, I had to write like the dean a note, like a letter to like beg him to get him in there. So I didn't have the grades to get in there. So I had to go to Newberry College just for that reason. So that's how I got there, and that's what started.
And then from there, that was when you were like, all right, I can make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, was there someone you looked up to, an influence where you were like, I want to be like that person one day? Someone who motivated you to get into the NFL?
No, like no one, like I said, growing up from where I'm from, like no one really made it to the NFL. Yeah. There was one person I knew, Lawrence Timmons. He played for the Steelers and Florida State, but I thought it was a long shot. That was just a dream as a kid. You shoot for it, but you don't really think you can do it.
So when you were a junior now, taking it more seriously, people are in your ear saying you can make it.
Yeah.
At that point, were you like, okay, it's the old adage, right? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? So were you someone who was working really hard trying to outwork everyone else, or were you like, no, at this point, you're like, no, I'm talented. I got it in me. I can make it. Which mindset did you have?
I had the mindset. Well, I didn't start to really develop the mindset of I can make it to the NFL, like I said, to my junior year. So my freshman year, sophomore year, I was just trying to find my way, I wasn't really playing, so I didn't really get to play until my junior year. So I started to play more. So that's when I really started to build my mindset, and I just, I started to outwork everyone. Like everyone that was, went to practice, went to workouts, and just did that. So I'm like, I can't get to the NFL doing the same thing everyone else is doing. Like I'm just gonna be like everyone else. I'm gonna be in the same spot. So I started doing my own workouts. I started working out after practice. Started doing more hill sprints, tire sprints, just working out, doing extra, just doing more than everyone else, just so I could, be on the level that all the players that was at Division I. So I just worked like I was at Division I, but I was at a Division II school. So I kind of had that mindset, like I'm a Division I player. So that's what I trained. That's what the mindset I had. Gotcha. And that's what I did. I just worked harder than everyone else and more than anyone else.
Got you. Okay, so now fast forward. You didn't get drafted, but you were unsigned, or you were signed by the Packers. What's going through your mind? How's that process like? What were you feeling at that moment?
Well, it's funny how I got to that point. Well, the draft goes by. I didn't get drafted. Of course, I thought I was going to be drafted. That's everyone's dream. Right. My agent's telling me, yeah, you're going to get picked up in the 7th round by the Steelers. So I'm waiting the 7th round. I'm looking at the TV hoping to get drafted. That doesn't happen. So I'm like, what do I do next? I left college. I left college a semester early. Just so I can train, just so I can get a head start, prepare for the combine, all this stuff. So my agent says that Green Bay wants to fly you in for a tryout. So I had to try out before I even got signed. So I had to fly there for like a rookie mini camp, like a 3-day mini camp over the weekend. Yeah. You go there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you have to learn the playbook in 3 days. So I'm going from Newberry College, a Division II school, to an NFL program that and to take it a step further, I was playing tight end. So in college, I played receiver. So I never played tight end until I went to the Packers. So they called me, Brandon Bostick, we want to try you out, fly you in as a tight end. I'm like, I've never been in a tight end stance. I don't know how to block.
Why did they do that?
Because I was a big receiver. I was like 6'3", probably 245. So I'm like, I wasn't going to be a NFL receiver. So it's like, just put on like 15 more pounds and you can be a tight end. Okay. And I was already good at running routes. So it's like, you can run routes against linebackers and safeties, and automatically be a matchup problem. So I'm like, I can do that. I can put on 20 pounds of muscle faster than I can increase my 40 time,
Right.
So I put on the muscle. I got to like 250, so I was like 6'3", 250. But still, I never played the position, never been in 3-point stance, never knew the technique, never know how to block. So, but I knew I had the athleticism and the speed, so I always had that in my back pocket. So they flew me in as a tight end. I flew in. Had a good week of practice. They flew me back. I didn't get signed. Then the summer goes by, and like a week before training camp, someone gets hurt, get injured, and they call me back. Brandon, we want to fly you in. Just from off just a 3-day mini camp. So that's how I got to the Packers. I had a 3-day tryout, and someone got injured, and I got my shot, and I just ran with it.
In my mind, outside view as a fan, I would think that that's as equally as big of an accomplishment and a dream than being drafted, where the team's calling up saying, hey, we need you.
Begging you to play.
Yeah.
So no one was begging me to play. I was begging people to give me a tryout just to showcase my skills. But it's definitely, I always had that chip on my shoulder, the underdog. Going against the first round pick, I'm like, I know I'm just as good as you. You just had more exposure than I did. You just had more scouts at your school. You just had more opportunities playing against better schools. I know that my talent was at the Division I level. The Division I program just had more stuff that I just wasn't exposed to. But once I caught up to that level, we were all the same. Right. So that's why they signed me.
That's what's up. And then when you got to the NFL, was there anyone there from the Packers organization, or team member rather, person, a player, that came out to you as like, hey man, you're a rookie, let me show you a way how this works in our organization? Who was that person?
Just a bunch of GMs. I remember Mike McCarthy just telling me, like, I just remember him telling me, you belong, like, come on, Bo, like, you belong here, like, you're just as good as everyone else, just learn and pick up the program. The GM, Ted Thompson, rest in peace, he picked me, just gave me a chance, and my best friend, one of my good friends, Jermichael Finley, I always modeled my game after him. We were probably like the same size, we had the same skills, both played basketball, so we both had the same attributes. But again, he went to Texas, I went to Newberry, so that was one of the biggest things that I learned. So I just had to learn from him, pick up all his knowledge, and once I got the knowledge and learned the playbook, man, like I just took off with it and ran with my opportunity. Nice.
And then so was there a favorite player you had on the Packers for those couple of years, or was it just strictly business with those guys?
I didn't have any favorite players, but of course when I first got there, I was a fanboy. Aaron Rodgers, he's a superstar, so I never seen a superstar. I never seen an NFL player. Never been into the NFL locker room, so when I got there, I was just amazed, just because I never, like I said, it was a dream come true. So I just first got there, being in the huddle with Aaron Rodgers. He's talking to me. I'm saying yes sir, yes sir. I'm in there like a kid And people are like, relax, bro. Like, we had football practice. Yeah, just a dude, bro.
Yeah.
He came to practice just like you. So once I got past that, I was good.
Right. And then what about like Clay Matthews or Jordy Nelson, those dogs?
I just remember playing against Clay every day. So when I first got to Green Bay, like I said, I wasn't signed, so I was on the practice squad my first year. So 2012, I was on the practice squad the whole year. Practice squad is you just practice. You're basically like a practice dummy. I'm just practicing against the first team defense. So I was a tight end. So that's when I really learned position, playing against Clay Matthews, going against Julius Peppers, going against Nick Perry, just going against those guys. I really had to learn my technique because those guys are just freak athletes and way better than me. But I realized if you have good technique, that'll take you a long way. So once I learned the technique just throughout that season, just practice against those guys, that's when I really started to learn the position as a tight end. So shout out to them for just pressuring me and just kept giving me the work that I needed to get better.
Yeah, and so like how we said in the beginning, when you're a younger kid, your dream is when you're an athlete to make it to the biggest league. You made it to the highest level, the NFL. Yeah. So you actually had your first touchdown. It wasn't a touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers, but it was still an awesome moment for you. And then your second touchdown pass was from Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Which one felt better, your first ever touchdown in the NFL or a touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers?
That first one. Yeah. That first one was because we called that play and we ran that play. And all week in practice, I would get it wrong. And I would just run. We ran it out and up. So I would run out, fake the out, then I would just run up. So every week, I would just run the out and just get it wrong. Coach just kept calling it. I would get it wrong. When Coach said, I'm going to call that play in the game. So I'm all right, Coach. And we called it. We was playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. I remember, I think Aaron had got hurt, so Scott Tolzien was in. I was on the left side. I ran the route, and I just started. I remember the ball coming. I was just like, dream come true. I caught the ball on like the 3-yard line. There's a dude there. I'm like, you're not. There's no way you're gonna stop me from scoring, bro. Like this is so, you're not running this. So I caught the ball and just ran him over and I just scored. I remember just throwing the ball. I have this picture at home, so I always remember it. I always look at it every day, so that's how I can remember it so good. So I caught the ball and I looked, and a dude said touchdown. I threw the ball in the air and I ran to go do a Lambeau leap. And I know like all my friends, like people before was doing the Lambeau leap and they just never could get up there. So I'm like, this is my time. Right. Like, don't embarrass yourself. So I ran up there. And the Lambeau leap is like 10 feet high, so you really kind of have to like charge up. So I charge up, and I jump, and I just laid back like,
All the fans are grabbing
me. All the fans are grabbing me. So that was just an unreal moment. But the second one with Aaron was a great one too, because I remember catching the ball, and there was a referee I have this picture too, that's how I can remember it. And the referee was right there. And there's a DB there, but I don't think Aaron was throwing me the ball. I think he was throwing someone behind me, but I saw the ball, and I just threw my hands up, caught the ball. Then I just did a Lambeau leap again. So it was good to get my first touchdown of my career, like a dream come true. Yeah. But it was also good to get a touchdown from Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. So no way am I comparing myself to you guys, but as a reference, I was on varsity basketball in high school. Yeah. And I remember at the end of the games, win or lose, all the boys would gather along together and we would talk about, how much points you had, assists, rebounds, all that good stuff. Is that like the same way in the NFL? After the game's over, you guys are in the locker rooms or shit talking about stats? How does that work? Or is it more professional based?
It honestly depends on if you win or lose. Win or lose matters a lot. Okay. If you win, you can giggle, you can laugh and bullshit. If you lose, you like thinking like, I know for me personally, I wasn't a superstar. I was one of the last people on the roster. Like there's 53 players on the roster. I was probably like 49, 48. So I knew like every week was a grind for me. I didn't have time to be laughing and bullshit. So if you had a bad week, you thinking like, man, like am I gonna get cut this week? Am I gonna make it next week? So you're thinking about all the mistakes you did. If you didn't have a bad game, you're thinking about, damn, how many plays did I mess up? Like coach is gonna get on me and film. Like coach is going. He gonna criticize you. So it depends on if you win or lose. If you have a good game and you win, you can joke, you can laugh, you can say you have but if you lose, all that goes out the window because it's business, Like it's a production league and your job is dependent on how you play on that day. So
got it. And so we just talked about it. You experienced the highest of highs, that great feeling of getting a touchdown. You've also experienced the lowest of lows. For sure. So let's talk about those death threats that we mentioned in the beginning. So it was the 2014-2015 year NFC championships. Yeah. There's around 2 minutes left on the clock. Everyone knows the story. You've talked about it openly before. You go up, your receiver instincts kick in, and also you're trying to be conflicted with your tight. Can you please go through that scenario?
I like how you phrase that because that's exactly what happened. We line up for a kick. They're trying to get the ball. I'm lining up for my stance. I was supposed to block. But like you said, the ball kicked off, and there's so many different things going on in my mind. At the time, I wasn't very present. That's one thing I'm working on now. And I learned about myself. So be present in the moment, block out all the distractions. So at the time, I'm thinking, go get the ball. Because as a receiver, basketball growing up, that's my background. Go get the ball. Kind of my instincts kicked in, wasn't present. I'm like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be blocking. So I obviously, if I was 100% go catch it, I would have called it 100% block. But I was kind of in between doing both, no man's land. So I didn't do nothing. So I just kind of freaked out and just panicked. So I dropped the ball, they get it. I just remember laying on the ground. They're cheering. I'm like, oh shit. I know it wasn't Packer fans. I know it was Seattle. I know it was a 12th man. I'm hearing that. I'm like, damn, what is gonna happen next? So I peel myself up and go to the sideline. Of course, everyone was asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what just happened. I just kind of lost sight of what I was doing, lost my focus. So I just remember sitting on the sideline, and that's when my mental health journey started from that moment. So
really, from that exact moment.
From that moment, that's the last. It's funny to say that because I can remember now just going through therapy and just doing the work. I used to couldn't remember that moment. I kind of blacked out from that. From the moment I dropped the ball, I don't remember going from that moment. But obviously reflecting and doing some digging, I remember everything and kind of the feeling that happened. But I used to couldn't remember what happened because it was just such an impactful moment. I was just so overwhelmed. My brain just kind of doesn't want to remember. Like you go through trauma experience, your brain kind of blocks it out. It doesn't want to dive deep into that. But now I can obviously go back into it. But I used to couldn't remember that. I just blacked out, just lost everything. From the time then the game went on, like obviously 2 minutes left. I don't remember anything. I don't remember going back out there, anything. I just remember going from there to the bench to the locker room. Right. That's all I remember.
And so you set it up perfectly, and then unfortunately the Packers lost that game, which would have sent you guys to the Super Bowl, which was why it was such a big deal. And everyone knows that the Packer fans are a crazy fan base. They're extremely loyal. Shout out John O'Shana.
For sure.
And so now you get the death threats. Can you talk about that, how that also affected you?
Well, that started as soon as I got back to the locker room,
The same game, as soon as you walked
Same game, as soon as, because, social media, people can comment, people are watching. Like you said, it was a game before the Super Bowl, so that was a big game. It's crazy to think about because that was the last time the Super Bowl was in Arizona. The Super Bowl's in Arizona this year, so I've been reflecting on it. But that's the social media and the death threats, the racist comments, suicide, no suicide, death threats, all that started happening as soon as I got back to my phone. My phone was just so overwhelmed with all that stuff from social media, Instagram, Twitter, emails, just whatever thing you can think of. So that was very overwhelming. That kind of, like I said, started my mental health journey because I started to believe that stuff that they were saying about myself. I started to subconsciously, you take that in, you read it, you start to believe that your brain don't know the difference. You keep reading that stuff every day. Someone's saying this stuff about you. And I was already feeling bad, from going through that. And I was already felt bad for myself. So you put that with all that, that was a lot for me to deal with. So that's still the struggle I deal with, but I'm learning and getting better every day.
Yeah, completely understandable too, because I remember back when I would mess up a play, you are your hardest critic as a player because you understand that's minutes I'm going to lose, that's reputation that's going down the drain. So you're going to be your hardest critic. You don't need the other additional noises being thrown at you every single time because you're already mad at yourself. You understand what happened. This is, for example, the World Cup just passed, right? Yeah. And I wanted Messi to win because then he would have got GOAT status. He already had GOAT status, but now it's confirmed.
He's gonna elevate him.
Elevated, exactly. And I'm watching this last game. Everyone and their mother was watching, and that in the last few minutes, Mbappe hit 2 goals right back to back. And I never watched soccer in my entire life, ever, until that game. And I'm watching it, and I'm feeling myself getting angry at France. I'm hating Mbappe. I'm like, I never even watched this dude until this moment. And then I calmed down because it was around the same time I started researching for our interview. And I was like, okay, if I didn't step back and take a second to
check on
myself, I would have kept hating. Yeah. And I would have kept being like,
slash it on someone else.
Screw this guy. I would have been tweeting, whatever. But now I was like, now I understand what Brandon's going through because people are just they want to be quick. They want to just get their message out. I hate you, you suck. So I completely get that. I had to check myself. A lot of people...
I appreciate you.
Hey, man, you got it. That's big. Yeah, absolutely. And people just don't check themselves. I think that's the hardest thing about that situation. And also, I was doing more research, and I was seeing all the comments, man. Everyone's saying, it's not Brandon's fault. The Packers played like shit the whole entire game. It's not your fault that one play ruined everything. There's a lot of people on your side about it. So I just wanted to...
It is. I started, I started to read that stuff. There's a lot of good out there. There's some bad, but when you're in a bad mood and you see bad, it's like it just confirms it for you. So, but when you see good and you're feeling good, it confirms it for you too. So I see both sides. But it used to bother me a lot, but now I'm starting to learn like people have their own issues. You know, people, like you said, people are just impulsive. People just lash out. So I don't really take it too personal now. But back then, that shit used to hurt. It still hurts. The wound is still there. It still hurts. Still stings. But as long as I'm on my routine, I can't control what people say. I can't control the Twitter. I can't control those people. I can only control how I feel and my thoughts. So I'm working on that. I'm not allowing other people to determine how I feel and my happiness, you know. So it's a daily job for me for sure.
So isn't it a little bit ironic though? It's like the thing that you're trained the hardest to get into. You train the hardest and you practice, you learn the playbooks, you grind it so hard to make it to this NFL and this team. It's the same place that started your mental health disorders.
Yeah.
It's very strange how the thing we want the most is the thing that will potentially hurt us the most too. Your path isn't the path that God might want you on. He has different paths for you. Are you a religious man by any chance? You are? God-fearing man? Okay, great. So then this analogy might make sense with you then, because I found myself that in moments when I would pray for something, I would want something so very badly. God loves us so much, he's like, all right, man, you're bothering me. It's not in my plan for you, but because I love you so much, I'm going to let you experience this.
Yeah.
So he puts us in that situation. He puts us in that spot where he's going to say, I'm going to take this away from you one day because that's not what I have in plans for you. So I would want something so badly, and then when I got to experience them, God's like, no, I have something better for you. You just have to trust me. With you, as you shifted outside of the NFL, you've started Sage Elite Clinic, focusing on mental health. Do you think that is your purpose in life, to help people who have went through traumatic things? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it is. I'm at that place now, but when that event happened or when I was playing, I wasn't thinking about, I thought football was my purpose, you know, growing up. Like I said, the dream, the childhood dream was making it to the NFL, so I thought that was my purpose. My purpose was making it to the NFL. But going through that event, retiring from the NFL, going through some other traumatic things, I started to learn, like my purpose was, like you said, is to help other people who've been through traumatic experience or who's struggling, or just to help people. Like, that's my purpose. So my purpose is just to help people. Going through that, I've learned just give back, just pour into people. Everyone's dealing with something. Everyone's struggling. Everyone's just giving their best. So I try to take that mentality back to people, and that's every day. That's my mentality. So that's my purpose, is to help and give back. So that's why I started Sage Elite. Going through the transition, going through dark times, going through a traumatic event, I'm like, man, like, if I can pick myself up, I know I can help someone else with mine. Just being there, listening to my presence, or just helping them, showing them what I'm doing, mentally and physically. I know I can be a light for someone because I picked myself up from the lowest point. So I know I can at least help someone just a little bit. So I feel like that's my purpose now, just to help and give back everywhere that I can or whenever I'm feeling. Because I know sometimes I'm not feeling like myself, and I know I lean on other people. So I know how powerful it is, so I always try to, be a light for other people.
So with the mental health recovery, were there any routines that you started doing in the morning, meditation, prayer? What do you do on a daily basis to get yourself in check where you're like, okay, this is going to be a good day today?
My routine is on one. Being with Sage Elite, meeting Mark Van Steenberg, who's my head clinician at Sage Elite, he started me on a routine, so that was big. In the NFL, they're big on routines. You get to the stadium, you get to the facility. Every day they're gonna have what you're gonna do from the time you get there, from 8 a.m. to 4. Mm-hmm. Your days is gonna be planned out. All you have to do is look at it. We have meetings, this and that. So at Sage Elite, that's what we do. So I started my routine. Now I know what I'm gonna do. I have a planner. We started a planner. So now I know what I'm gonna do every day. I can create the day that I want. I can create the life that I want. I know I'm gonna hit those 4 realms of the body. I'm gonna hit my mind. I'm gonna do something mentally for myself. I'm gonna do something physically, yoga. I'm gonna do something spiritually, and I'm gonna do something emotionally, therapy. So I try to hit all 4 of those realms every day. Just check the mark on those. So I know if I do those 4 things, at least one of those things, I'm gonna have a pretty decent day, no matter how I'm feeling. So I started my routine from just learning from Mark Van Steenberg at Sage Elite. He started me on a routine. You just gotta have that routine. You gotta have a schedule. If not, you're just gonna be going with the flow. You're just gonna be following the distraction, or you're just not gonna be living an intentional life. So that was the first thing I did. You gotta have a routine, a daily routine.
Yeah, you'll be blowing in the wind wherever
going with everyone else. Someone wants you to do this instead of focusing on what you want and what you need to do for your life. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, but you mentioned meditation. What are the other things that you do in your routine?
yoga, big on the body. Playing football, I learned my body is what keeps me happy. It was what made me happy. I know when I'm moving, that's when that's when I'm healthiest. So started yoga, started going to my therapist. I'm seeing her every Tuesdays. I see her. So I just know from my week and 7 days, I know 2 or 3 days I'm gonna have some bad days. So I need to be able to go to my therapist and talk about it. So I set my sessions up. So I'm doing yoga, working on my body, working on my mind, just working on things that I like to do, working on things that bring me joy.
Okay, so you said, out of curiosity, bad days. What does a bad day look like?
Man, every day is a bad day for me. When I wake up, that's usually when I'm at my lowest. So I have hella brain fog, my body is sore. Just from playing, my body just so tense, so sore. That's why I'm so good into yoga. So wake up, my mind is gonna be going, my anxiety is gonna be high, my chest is gonna be tight. I might be sweating. So that's why I say every day I know, not every day I wake up, but these are some of the experiences I know I'm gonna experience a lot. So I go to my routine, I go to my breathing, I go to my yoga, I go to my devotions, I read my book, I pray, I say things I'm grateful for. I always do all those things just so I can lift myself up from out of that dark place. So that's why I'm so big in my routine. I got my routine, I know I can at least bring myself up to a point where I can have a decent day.
Got it, understood. And yeah, so one of my friends actually told me that he thinks every single person should go to therapy, no matter what. He's like, you should go to therapy.
Yeah.
And I thought that was strange. I was like, why? But yeah, sorry.
I would just say you go to a doctor, everyone has a doctor, so it's like a mental doctor, someone who can help you understand your thoughts or your feelings. It may be good or bad. Like I talk about the good stuff, I talk about the bad stuff. I just talk to someone who isn't going to judge me by what I'm saying, or I don't have to worry about it. I can just let it go. Like some people are just ashamed to tell what they're going through. Fear of judgment, fear of guilt, fear of whatever it might be experiencing. So my therapist is a person who I know I can go and talk to for anything, or just help me with something. Like how can I be a better person? How can I be a better man? I know she can help me with those things because I don't have all the answers, you know?
Yeah. So what at Sage Elite Wellness Clinic do you do that helps people to get to that point?
We have a team of support. So I have Mark, he's a head clinician. Just a bunch of team people that you can count on. Like I said, he's a therapist, so he's a head therapist. So we have an athletic department. You can schedule workouts, you can schedule nutrition, you can schedule a life coach. If you're not looking for a therapist, you just want to look for a better quality of life. So we just try to offer just a bunch of variety of different things, just to offer a better, just something different than the traditional therapy. You know, people kind of the white coat approach. You go in there, you talk to this person about this problem. But at Sage Elite, you know, we're going after the whole body, the body and the mind. Focus on your workouts. Focus on where you're eating. Focus on what you're drinking. Just focus on the good things and how can we add more things to help you live a better quality of life.
How can people find you? How can they join?
SageEliteHealing.com. We have Instagram. I have an Instagram, Bostick86.
And so a few more questions, now we can wrap this up. So out of complete curiosity, I grew up someone in a community where anything you do is basically on surveillance, right?
Yeah.
Aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, everyone's around, they'll see it. And we grew up in a Christian household, so it's do drugs, that's bad, it's a sin, don't do that. Yeah. So it never crossed my mind to ever try any psychedelics, marijuana, anything like that. Till this day, I have not tried anything. And I don't judge people who do. I'm genuinely curious as to why they do this. You are wearing a very appropriate shirt set up for this question right now. So you said that you're also a God-fearing man, you do your prayers, you're a Christian. I read or saw somewhere that you microdose.
Yeah.
And so how has that helped you? And then do you ever have any conflictions with religion and morality with the use of psychedelics?
That's a good question. I never thought about it from a religious point of view. I do it for more of a spiritual reason. Because playing football, I grew up in a Christian household like you. Like I wasn't taught you don't do drugs, you know, you follow the Bible. Mom and dad don't drink, don't smoke, but you follow the Bible and you don't do those things. But as I got on my journey, when being at my lowest, I started to just experience and start to learn from other people, hearing other athletes like, man, I tried to do functional mushrooms and that just changed my mind. It kind of made me take my arm off, because like when you're playing in sports, you get in the NFL or you're playing in these aggressive sports, you kind of have to be that macho man. You kind of have to be very masculine. You can't allow your feelings, you can't see your feelings. You have to just remain that masculine, that dominant man all the time. So I kind of wanted to get away from that mindset, get away from that aggressive approach. So I tried the mushrooms. I saw this guy. He was a hockey player. His name was Daniel. And he was kind of experiencing the same things I was feeling. Just leaving he was a hockey player, so he had a concussion. I'm like, damn, I had 3 concussions. He had like 5 or 6. He was experiencing all these bad symptoms, like just depression, anxiety, like just feeling how I was feeling. So I'm like, damn, he's feeling like that. I reached out to him on Twitter. I'm like, man, like, and he had a documentary that came out on HBO.
Oh, okay.
So he did a psychedelic trip. I'm like, man, like, I want to try something because what I'm trying isn't working. Like, I'm doing all these different things. I got my medicine. I'm on a routine. I'm praying. I'm doing all these different things. I just need something else to make me feel better. So I reached out to him on Twitter, and he reached out and he started a business, Plant-Made Health, which is functional mushrooms. So I started trying that. And that just changed how I felt mentally, how I felt about myself. I got my energy back. Started to get the feelings of feeling again. Like I could feel emotions, I could cry. I'm like, damn, this is pretty good. So this is what I was looking for. I wanted to feel my emotions again. I wanted to change my mindset from the athlete mentality. I wanted to go a more peaceful approach. So I just tried it and it worked. So I've just been trying functional mushrooms, just trying cannabis. And that uplifts me, that gives me, makes me happy. So I never looked at it from a religious point of view. I have a relationship with God. I feel like me and him have a good relationship. I talk to him, but I never really thought about that. But that's a good question.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so a UFC player, or fighter rather, explained it like this. They said, imagine a phone with a camera that's blurry. And as soon as you microdose with mushrooms, it's like you tap on the screen and it focuses.
Exactly.
That's how he explained it.
Just
So I always been
mind,
curious.
open your mind up to want to see things different, want to go to therapy. Like, it just makes you curious, because I was on the medication. The medication didn't give me, it changed, it just didn't give me the connection. Like, it didn't give me my feelings back. Like, it gave me the other things. I'm like, damn, like, what can I do to, like, connect with people? What can I do to get my empathy back? What can I do to make me more a loving man? Like, what can I do to make me more, just joyful? Like, so I just tried it and it worked. I'm like, okay, this is the feeling I've been searching for. So
Yeah, if it doesn't make you a harmful person, if you're not hurting anybody, if it makes you a better person, why not? I don't see
for sure, and definitely helps my mental health. So I'm all for it.
Let's say there's a kid listening right now, they're thinking of football. What is your greatest and most important takeaway and lesson while playing in the NFL?
You gotta be resilient. Like, who are you when adversity hits? Everyone is, when you're riding high, everything is going good, everyone has started to, you're happy. Like, who are you when things aren't going good? So I started to have that mentality. Because things are going to go wrong in life. Like, you're going to face adversity, you're going to go through a traumatic event, but it's how you respond to it, or just the things you get from going through that. Like, I got resilience. Like, I know, like, I can be at my lowest, I know I can pick myself up. I got that from going through my traumatic event, but going through it, you don't look at it like that. So just coming out of it, I'm like, man, I can go through anything. You just put me in the worst situation. I know Brandon, I know myself, I can pick myself up. But before that, I never faced any adversity. I faced little things like things didn't go my way, but being at your lowest, at your highest of your career, but being at your lowest, not being happy, you get into a point where you're like, man, like, what's happiness? Like, I'm in the NFL, I got the money, I got the fame, and you still aren't happy. So that's why I say, who are you when things aren't going the way you're supposed to be? So now I know who I am. I know who Brandon is. I know when I'm at my lowest, I can pick myself up. Before, I never knew that because I never been through anything. So I would just say, just remember the qualities that you gain from going through whatever you're going through at your lowest, and that'll take you farther than anything in life, for sure.
So to wrap this up, man, you went through a lot, highest of highs, lowest of lows, and now you're in the stage. Do you regret anything that you did to get to this point? Would you change anything about being in the NFL, or are you happy with where you're at now?
I'm happy where I'm at. I wouldn't change, because like I said, that event really showed me who I was. I thought I was in the NFL, I was riding high, I was above everyone. I wasn't living like that, but that's just how my lifestyle was set up. So that really bulked me down back to the human. Like, you're a human, like, you have emotions, you have a feeling. So I'm just trying to find that medium, that balance in between. We all want a balanced life, so I'm just trying to find balance in my life wherever I can. So I wouldn't regret nothing I've been to. Like I said, that gave me my strength, that gave me my resilience. That made me dive deeper into myself, really figure out, like, who am I? So I don't regret things in life. I just try to take lessons from it, any way that I can. That's the perspective I have.
Absolutely. My cousin was an older brother to me, said everything in life is a learning experience, good or bad. Brandon,
for sure.
Thank you so much, bro.
Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.